What's going on, everybody? Today I'm here reviewing Don't Worry, Darling. It's directed by Olivia Wilde, starring Florence Pugh and Harry Styles. And yeah, going into this movie, I was a little bit excited for this. I saw the trailer and I was like, oh, that looks interesting. And I know I mentioned a couple of times on the channel about Matt Damon and how hard it is to get original movies off the ground and stuff like that. So, and this was like one of the first times that I was like, oh wow, I kind of want to see that. That wasn't like a franchise in a minute, because for the last 2 months it's kind of been really like slow at the movie theaters. So I was excited to go watch this movie. I saw the reviews for a lot of the movie and a lot of it said it was like really bad, except for Florence Pugh. But I don't care what reviewers gotta say a lot of the times. There's been a lot of times where like I've seen a movie that reviewers say sucked and it was great, and vice versa. So don't always just like take reviewers' words for stuff like that. Another interesting thing, apparently all the cast members got like beef with each other now or something like that. So Florence Pugh, who's actually the main character, like looking back on it, I don't think there's a scene that doesn't have Florence Pugh in it. She did not help market the movie. So I found that interesting, considering she is the main character. But anyway, getting into the movie, the main premise of the movie is that you have a community that lives in, I would assume, would be the southeast area of the United States. And in the suburb, you can tell off the bat that something's off, right? They're in the middle of nowhere, in a desert, not connected to like any highways or any other cities like that. So my mind got to thinking, maybe there's like a dystopian future, like where there was like a nuclear war, and like maybe this is one of the last civilizations on the earth or something like that. But every day, all the dudes in the community, they all get up and they go to work. They get in their cars and they go into the desert, which is like a big thing because you're not allowed to go into the desert because it's really dangerous. But they're going into like this mountain where Frank, who's the leader of this community, I don't know if he's some type of super genius or some type of super billionaire, but he's played by Chris Pines. And yeah, they worship this dude. There's a lot of dick riding that goes on in this movie. They kind of, it's almost creepy and weird. Like, he can never be wrong. You can't ask questions about the society. They all love Frank, or they all seem to like Frank. And the women, while the dudes are at work, they all stay home. They cook, they clean. Once they're done with that, they go to the mall, or they go to like, I guess, some dance practice. I don't know why they do this. Maybe this is like their extracurricular activity. This suburb is based off the 1950s, so maybe housewives in the 1950s went to like dance lessons when they were bored. Maybe that's like their version of going to the gym. I don't know. But yeah, things start to get really weird when Florence Pugh's character starts to notice some inconsistencies that are going on in the reality, such as she cracks eggs, there's nothing in the eggs. Cleaning windows, the window starts to smash her face, or the wall comes up and smashes her face. There's also another character, one of the only black characters in the movie. I keep forgetting her name. Margaret, played by Kiki Lane. She starts to have like mental breakdowns. Apparently she went into the desert, which is a big no-no, and she lost her son. Also, she ends up just killing herself outright, and that causes a lot of trauma for Florence Pugh's character. They try to say that she just fell down the steps, but like she was literally there. But yeah, there's also these like red men who come in, like they help people move into the town. They pick people up when stuff hits the fan. They're kind of like the police there, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, also very creepy. And we realize, surprise surprise, later in the movie, because this is a spoiler, that the community itself is not what it says to be. It's a simulation. It's not even real. You put something over your eyes and you go into this computer. And how we figure this out is that Florence Pugh one day, I guess, doesn't want to go shopping in the mall, and she goes to the end of the bus route and sees a red plane crash over the mountain. The same red plane that Margaret is holding in her hand before she kills herself. I think that happens later in the movie. I've seen this movie once, so my memory of the order in which stuff happens sometimes is like out of order because I only seen it once. But anyway, she sees the plane crash over the mountain. She asks the bus driver, "Hey, drive over there to expect that." He says, "Hell no." She gets out the car or gets off the bus and does it herself, which I thought was strange because I'm not gonna lie to you. If I see a plane crash in the middle of the desert, I'm not just walking over there by myself in flats. Also, like, it's a plane crash, so like I would assume there's a large chance that they already did. Like, you like, and also like she's just walking out there in the desert. Like, what is she gonna do to help them? Like, all right, now they're like severely injured. It's not like she's gonna pick them up and walk back over the mountain to town. And in this town, like, is there even a hospital? Actually, there is. We see a doctor later on. But anyway, this, I guess it's a reason for her to get out into the desert and push the story along. This is like when things start to change. She actually finds the headquarters where the dudes are supposedly supposed to go to work. She walks up the mountain. There's a small little tower that looks out. And apparently, with how it's set up in the movie is when you touch the glass, you exit the simulation, like you wake up and everything. So rather, two things happen when Florence Pugh touches the glass, right? One, you see when she wakes up later on in the movie that she's tied to a bed. So what probably happened is that she woke up and she realized she was tied to a bed. There wasn't much that she could do, and Harry Styles probably just came home from like his work shift or whatever and just put her back in the simulation. Or like maybe Harry Styles took a break from the simulation or was already in the building or in her room and just immediately put her back into the simulation. I would go with the second one because I just feel like maybe she would like scream or something if she realized she was just tied to a bed. Like, that just seems very odd. But anyway, in the simulation, back in the simulation, she wakes up in her room. She comes out. Harry Styles is trying to cook dinner, like, terribly. I don't understand how you can be that bad at cooking. All cooking is learning is reading directions, basically. Like, just listen to the directions. Like, I don't understand. There gotta be a cookbook somewhere in the house. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand how people are just bad at cooking. Like, grow up. Like, learn how to listen to directions. Like, I don't understand. But anyway, she's obviously confused because the last time she was conscious, she was up on the mountain. And now she's back in her bed. But, you know, Harry Styles makes it seem like, oh, maybe you was just having like a dream or something like that. She goes with it. And going along in the story, the leader of the little community, Frank, played by Chris Pine, starts to realize that Florence Pugh is a little suspect. Is starting to realize what's going on. Frank, what happens in the stories is that they all go to this banquet where Harry Styles' character is promoted. We're never told what that means because, again, like I said, when the dudes leave to go to work, in quotation marks, they're not going, well, they're going to work, but they're actually just exiting the simulation and going to like their actual 9 to 5. They probably like, you know, working in a factory or something like that. So I don't know what the promotion was, or maybe he paid more to look like he got a promotion and that he was doing things. But yeah, so Frank comes over the next day with his wife, along with some of the dudes in the neighborhood that they cool with, and he does like a really weird thing. I would say if there's like one weak point in this movie, it's, I guess, Frank the villain, because it's like he's like, yeah, I finally found my equal. Let's see what you can do. And I'm like, why? Like, why would you want an equal? First of all, you're a criminal, and you're a criminal in real life. So like why would you, like, I just feel like if I was a criminal or like a villain, I wouldn't want an equal. I would just want to do like my evil in peace. Like, are you bored? Like, are you bored in the simulation that you made? Like, why do you want an equal? So he sits her down, lets her talk. She's like, don't y'all find it strange that y'all all met in the same place on the train to Boston and went to a honeymoon? And all the women are like, oh, no, it's not strange. And all the dudes were like, yeah, they were confused too, which, looking back at it, all the dudes were in on it. So good acting by them, because I would assume they would have been more mad or been looking at Harry like, hey, yo, like, get your girl. Like, what's she doing right now? She messing up the whole operation. Like, what, like, get her in check. Like, what are you doing? But Frank kind of just like dismantles her, I guess, because I imagine someone comes to the table and say, hey, that dude right there, he's making all of this up, none of this is real. You probably wouldn't believe him either. But yeah, after dinner ends, this is kind of like the breaking point in their relationship. Florence Pugh wants to go into the desert and leave, and Harry's like obviously knows like, no, I can't do that. So he calls the movers to come get her and wipe her mind again. But I guess the more times you get your mind wipes, like the less time it works, because this time when she wakes up from like the reset again, she already knows what's up. Like she already knows like what's going on. So yeah, this gets to the point in the movie where we figure out that she's an entire medical doctor, and it's actually reverse. She's the one that goes to work all the time, and Harry Styles is the one at home doing absolutely nothing. When I mean absolutely nothing, she gets home and is actually mad at him because apparently he wasn't. Now get this, he wasn't even supposed to like make dinner. All he had to do was like order food, but I guess he didn't know what to order for her, so he just didn't order food, which confused me because it's like, if you don't know, first of all, you go out with her, like just pick a food she likes. Like how hard is that to do? Also, you have to eat too, so what did you eat all day? Like you eventually would have had to make or order food yourself, or yourself was gonna starve. She just said she got off a 30-hour shift, so like what have you been doing? He's been at home. You see like his hair's grown out. He has like a bunch of ugly facial hair and stuff like that. No more of those like cool suits that they had in there. They was looking clean in that simulation, I ain't gonna lie. That one blue suit he had, I'm not like a suit guy, but I was like, oh, he looked kind of clean right there. But yeah, he like wore a hoodie and stuff like that. He was like listening to like Frank in the movie, or Chris Pine's character, who I would just like imagine he's like Andrew Tate. I would assume it would be in that same vein. I feel like this movie is going to age pretty well, because, and the reason like I like the movie and the twist is because I feel like that's believable. Like a lot of people who listen to Andrew Tate, if you told them, hey, I could put you in a dystopia where like this woman, you could be with this woman who's just going to like worship you and everything you do, even though you're a bum in real life, I feel like a lot of them would sign up for that. And it's interesting because the dudes were like leaders in their home, like quotation marks, but like they were very docile in the simulation. They like followed Frank's every word, like to the T. It was almost like a religion, and I feel like you can see parallels to that in like real life when people listen to like, I guess, these motivational speakers or these life coaches or these internet personalities on how to like be a leader or like be a man or something like that. And it's almost like religious how it is, how they can never do any wrong. They read their stuff like it's the Bible or like it's the gospel. So I found like that was very interesting. The parallels between, that, I feel like there will be a big market. I feel like the only questions I had, like how did they get the stuff on them? Like, did they just knock them out one day and then tie them to a bed and do that? Did they have to go to some type of facility, like trick them into going to some type of facility to do that? Also, is this like legal? Like, does the government think this is like legal, or is he like, you have to like buy this off like the black market or something like that? Like you just have to go to like Frank's website and like order like 2 simulation things and like handcuffs. Like, I don't understand how that part of it works. And also people bringing up like there will have to be a lot of women missing. Like, she was an entire medical doctor. I would feel like it would be more complicated to just like quit being a medical doctor like that easily. But I don't know. And also, like, if she's continuously in the simulation, like, how is she getting fed? Like, are you still running a tube through her stomach, or like, do you have to wake her up eventually and like feed her? Like, she's just gonna starve on that bed? Like, I don't understand that. But yeah. Also, we found out in the movie that there is a woman who actually, one of the women, the lead women of their like friend group, actually knows what's going on, and she just chooses to be a part of it. I find it interesting because you can probably see that parallel with a lot of minorities who probably know like all the wrongs and injustices that are going on, but they're very complacent, maybe because it's comfortable for her. She says she has an attachment to the kids, which I think is dumb because the kids are fake. Maybe she didn't know the kids are fake. I don't see this obsession with kids like in movies. Like, kids are not this great for you to just be like, you know what, I'm gonna just live in the 1950s. Like, I don't think most people can just live in 2022 and just go all the way back to the 1950s. Like, could you imagine that? There's no internet. The TV shows are probably terrible to you. You gotta listen to this like boopity bop ass music. Like, there's like, how do you keep yourself entertained? Like, I seen this one like Twitter post, and it was like, I was with my mom when we were folding clothes, and she wasn't listening to like, she wasn't watching the TV or had any AirPods in. She asked her what she was thinking about, and the mom said, I'm thinking about the task at hand, which is folding clothes. And like the daughter was like shocked, like, how do you just like live with nothingness? And I feel like that's what you have to do in the 50s a lot. You just have to be sitting there with like nothingness. But anyway, I think that was good, because I feel like there would be even women, even though they're the ones being oppressed in this situation, that would be complacent with it, because maybe like as a woman, her life was so bad in the real world, being like basically like a slave in the like fake world may have been better. Or maybe she tried to escape so many times that she just gave up, I guess. I don't know. But you can definitely see it in real life with people who end up just being complacent like that. But yeah, the movie ends because the girl who we found out actually knows what's going on says, hey, yeah, you need to get out of here, they're about to come for you. I think Florence Pugh, up to this point, she actually kills Harry Styles' character in the movie. And that's bad, because again, if you die in a simulation, you die in real life. So yeah, those people's about to come after her, because they know if she ends up escaping somehow and getting into the real world, this whole thing is like over with. Like, this whole operation is coming to an end. So we end up getting to a chase scene. She has to drive all the way up to the mountain. She leaves again, and that's how the movie ends. We never see what happens when she gets out the simulation. We just hear her waking up. Again, she's tied to a bed, so I don't know if she just screamed for help or something like that. I don't know how she escapes. Frank or somebody alludes to there being people in real life that like handle certain situations like this. So I assume he has goons like in real life. So I don't know if she's gonna have to like race to get away or something like that. I'm sure they have all their addresses documented, because like, why would you not do that? But Frank kind of seemed to be stupid. Like, he should have been got rid of her. I don't know. Again, I don't know why in like real life you would want an actual equal to like foil your plans. Like, that's dumb. But Frank ends up dying by his wife. She's like the lead woman too. She teaches the ballerina classes. She says it's my turn. I don't know if that means she's just gonna turn the simulation off, or she's just gonna continue running it. I think that could be an interesting parallel. Like as a black man, you could see other black men sometimes. They like, I found this quote, and it was like, in terms of equality, it was like a news clip, and the dude was talking, I think it was Dr. Umar, and I don't think about it. He was talking about, they were talking about Bill Cosby, and they were talking about, well, white men get to do all this to women all the time, and they get away with it. And the news anchor, I think he was from CNN, he said, as black people, we want white people to be accountable for the same standards as black people. We don't want to also get away with what they're doing too. And I find that interesting, because a lot of times, a lot of the oppressed just want to be in the same position as the oppressors, so they can oppress as well. And I think you see that a lot of times with like, I think it's like intersectionality and something like that, and they were comparing white women to black men, because we are both oppressed, but we can also oppress, like in the case of black men, we can oppress black women, and then women can also oppress some other minorities, even though they're probably oppressed by white people too. And sometimes the reasons why we want equality, I think sometimes are a little murky. Is it like, well, do you want equality so that you can make a difference, or do you just want equality so that you can oppress people too? Like, I find that very interesting, and you can see that a lot in Frank's wife's character. Like, does she just want to take over the simulation so that she could control it now, or does she want to end it and actually set like all these women free? So I found that very interesting. But all in all, I would have to give this movie like a B. Like, I wasn't blown away by the movie, but I was definitely entertained. I felt like some of the world building could have been answered I wish we could have spent a little more time outside of the simulation just to see how all of it works, because again, we spend a lot of time like in like the status quo, and I think it's pretty obvious for the viewers at home, like, all right, there's something shady going on here. We know that from jump. So maybe spend less time, with the whole, oh, she sees, I don't know, like a building turn purple, then like back to its regular color or something like that. It was a lot of stuff like that, like you would see something abnormal, and you're like, all right, so obviously there's something wrong here, and we spent a lot of time there. But other than that, I give this movie like a B plus. I thought it was really good. Florence Pugh did a good job. I thought Harry Styles did okay. A lot of people were saying it was trash. I didn't think it was that bad. I didn't think he did great either, but I thought he did okay. Again, going back to that Matt Damon thing, I think because this is an original film, right? So they're probably thinking, hey, we got to get butts in seats some way. Oh, Harry Styles wants to get into acting. Let's make him the star of it, because Harry Styles is going to be a selling point for the movie because he's a pop star. So instead of, maybe you make the quality of the movie worse a little bit, but you also sell more tickets because Harry Styles is such a big star, and we can use them for the marketing. I think that's a lot of times, obviously, I don't think that's nothing new, but sometimes they get actors who may be worse for the role but are going to sell tickets. That's always going to be a thing. So yeah, I find that interesting. But other than that, I thought this movie was pretty good. So also, one other thing I want to talk about that I thought was very interesting, just going back to the whole real life and who would actually use this. I find it interesting, like if you go back to Harry Styles' character, right? It wasn't like he was like an irredeemable person. Irredeemable situation. Obviously, he did something in the past to make this Florence Pugh's character like him. All he had to do was like the bare minimum, which was clean the house. Hey, you got fired from your one job. I don't know what type of quality it was. Maybe like, work at a warehouse or something like that. I met a lot of dudes who were like, you talk to them, you're like, hey, I really got a mechanical engineering degree, but hey, times got rough, so now I'm working retail. And that happens all the time. Like, I feel like he just had to, put like a little bit of work in. Like, he saw what he looked like in the simulation. He had a cut hair, shaved head, he looked better and stuff like that. All he had to do was like, take care of himself, and that looked completely disgusting when she came home. Like, his clothes was dirty and stuff like that. Clean the house up, help out in other ways. I feel like a lot of times people may feel like the only validation or value they bring is with the money, and if they don't have money, they don't have any validation or value. And I feel like that's not true. Like, a lot of people have value who aren't like, that don't make a lot of money. So I find that very interesting. Like, he didn't, like, all he had to do was just like a little bit more, and I felt like it would have been okay. It would have felt like he was not a bum, but like he ended up listening to Frank's character. So yeah.